Hello, I'm Eric Davison. I'm showing you how to build a smarter garden. Today we'll be taking the SD card that we prepared with Raspbian and booting it up on our Raspberry Pi for the first time. There's also some settings we need to finish configuring. So let's go ahead and get going. Let's get started by plugging the SD card into our Raspberry Pi. I also have a Wi-Fi adapter here because the Model 2 does not have one built on board. Some of the new models like the Model 3 has Wi-Fi built on the device, so you don't need to use an external adapter like I have here. We are also going to need a monitor and a keyboard for the first time setting up our Pi. This is because there's some on-screen prompts that we'll have to go through before we can make our device remotely accessible. When you plug in the power cord, the Pi will boot from start, so you should plug in the power cord last after you hooked up all your other peripherals. That way we can be sure that the Pi properly detects them on boot. The Pi is now plugged in and we're going to start seeing some on-screen display here while it's booting up. This may take a minute before it's ready. We'll know it's done when we're prompted for a login to use. Raspbian comes with a default login. The username is Pi and the password is Raspberry. Enter that in and that should get you into the system for the first time. Once you've been able to log in your Pi, there's a few settings that we need to finish configuring to complete our setup. We're going to need to connect to our network and also enable SSH so we can remotely access our Pi. There's also probably some software updates we'll want to check for. Luckily for us, Raspbian comes pre-packaged with a handy configuration tool that we can use to finish configuring these settings. We can access this tool from our terminal by using the raspbiconfig command. You're going to want to have admin privileges, so you make sure you prefix that command with sudo. Here we can find a bunch of useful options that makes it easy to finish configuring our Raspberry Pi. We're going to want to set up a connection to our network wirelessly, so we want to choose network options from the list below. If you wanted to set up a wired connection to your Raspberry Pi, as long as you have a supported model, you don't need to go through the following steps. However, if you're doing a wireless network connection, select Wi-Fi from the list below and enter the SSID of your network and the passphrase. Once you've finished entering the prompts, you should be now connected to your network and it'll take you back to the main menu. You may have to restart your Pi before it connects to the network. We're going to do so after we configure a few more settings. Now we need to enable SSH on our Pi so that we can remotely access it. We're going to go under interfacing options and select SSH from the menu below. When prompted, we're going to hit yes to enable SSH. SSH should now be enabled on your Raspberry Pi. Now that we've set up a connection to our network and enabled SSH, we can select finish at the bottom and reboot our Raspberry Pi. You can reboot by running sudo reboot. After our Pi has rebooted and we log back in, we can verify we're connected to a network by typing in the hostname-i command. This is going to give us the IP address of the network we're connected to. We're going to also need this IP address for connecting through SSH to remotely access our Pi. Once we've verified that we're connected to our network, we're going to go ahead and check for any updates and apply them. We'll use the apt-get upgrade and apt-date update commands. This will fetch all the latest updates and then also allow us to apply them. I've sped up the footage here, but it took about 10 minutes for me to apply all my latest updates. If you downloaded the most recent version of Raspbian, it should be up to date with the latest firmware. However, sometimes there's a chance there's a new version available, and it also never hurts to check. We can do that by running the RPI update command. Okay, everything's been installed and it's time for one final reboot. And that'll conclude this video. In the next video, I'm going to show you guys how to access your Pi via SSH and how to set up the remaining software packages that we're going to need.